What's up, guys? It's Matt Jackson and Clay Smith, and we're the Wash Bros. So, hopefully, you've liked the first episode of our second season with our rebrand. We're going to kick this episode off, episode two. And what we're going to do with this one, we're going to talk about like our spring surge prep. So, what are we doing today to get ahead of the spring that's right around the corner? We're going to be talking about our systems, gear, and like our lead flow, and what we're doing in our businesses to get ready for the busy spring, which is, as you guys know, with pressure washing, the most important season. So you want to kick this thing off, Clay?
No problem. I sure will. As you know, you got to be prepared, right? If you want to be successful, you gotta be prepared. You got to set yourself up for success. Most of the people that are just winging it, they're not. They may, nine times out of ten, they're not going to go very far with the success part. So, the biggest thing that we do with my company is we get a checklist together. We do the preseason type thing, and we look at what we did last year and try to kind of compare to this February from last February, January to last January. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that you have all your systems and everything that you need and the tools that track everything. So what we do is we have a CRM. I don't think there's any right or wrong CRM to get as long as it's tracking the data that you need. We use House Call Pro. Matt, I know you use the same thing. Basically, what that CRM does, if you don't know anything about a CRM, the CRM takes care of everything. It allows you to store all of your customer information. It allows you to put their phone number in, their email, their address, what you charged the last time. You'll be able to go back and look at what you charged that customer last time because that, believe it or not, is an issue year after year. Well, you only charged me X amount of money last time. Well, ma'am, customer, everything has went up since last time, so we have to charge you a little more. Not that I'm trying to screw you over or anything. It's just the cost of doing business. So a lot of those good tools, and then another thing that I like is I can do all my invoicing through there. I can tell my customer when I'm on the way. I can tell my customer when the job's finished. It sends them a review link. Um, all of those things, and it's just something that is very it's helped me grow a lot with our company. It's helped me keep everything together, kind of know what to expect. It's helped me put our checklist together, set goals, the whole nine yards. And like I said just a few minutes ago, if you're not setting yourself self up for success, if you're not doing these things to prepare for the season, then nine times out of ten you're just winging it and you're just doing the bare minimum, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the difference between when somebody's like, "Hey, what's the professional do and what's the amateur or the some people part time." And there's nothing wrong with being part time, but if you want to run this as a true business and not be the business, where like you got to have systems in place, and that's where having CRMs it's a necessity because like the volume of customers that you and I have and that we deal with on a like a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, like it's impossible to keep up with everything just on paper and a pen. Like a lot of guys that you see, they're like, "Oh, I don't have a CRM, or I just use paper and pen, and like I have no problems." They're not even realizing like how much business is being lost and how much that's slowing them down by not having like the right system set up. That way, they're not only being seen as a professional from the customers, but they're able to accumulate reviews. They're able to get quotes over. I know we were talking about you and I our systems the other day because we use the same CRM, and um, I'm working on getting better at sending like quotes via our CRM. That way, the customer gets it and it's in a official document, and they can approve or decline off of that. So, as opposed to just shooting stuff off via texting like I've been doing in the past, because I remember it was yesterday actually. I got a message from a customer, and everybody hates these messages when it's like, "Hey, are you still coming?" And then I look at the text message, and it was like 11 o'clock. They sent that message, and like 9 a.m. I told them I could be at the job site. So stuff like that, it just slips through the cracks unless you have the systems down and the proper CRMs and trying to like streamline everything from the start. And that's one thing I'm doing this year that's really going to help us out, as you were saying that you started to do it last year, and it really like elevated your business and allowed you to be more professional and better track things.
100%. At the end of the day, like I spoke in the last episode, we whether we realize it or not, we have money in every customer that's calls you, texts you, fills out a lead on the website. You have money in those customers. It costs you money somewhere down the funnel. And the biggest thing I noticed last year was, well, shoot, if I'm already paying $40 to $50 on average per customer, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this customer's information. So you basically bought their information and you're going to store it in your CRM. So you have that customer's information for years down the road. They may not use you this year, but later on down the road, you may have a chance to earn their business. So what we do with that CRM allows us to press one button, just a couple of buttons, and I can send a email to every one of those customers in my CRM, right? So it's just thinking a little smarter, thinking as a businessman, and more or less a pressure washer, because you got to put both caps on. You can't just think as a pressure washer. You can't think that, oh, I'm going to go out and buy the most nicest expensive equipment or trailer with all these gadgets on it and think you're going to go make a bunch of money, because that's not how it works. You got to wear both caps.
Exactly. How excited that we are to buy like the coolest equipment and show up on the job site and be that professional where somebody's driving by and they're looking at all your stuff. You're like, wow, that guy's a professional. Well, if we're not being a professional when it comes to our systems and our CRMs and how we're managing the customer lead flow, like you said, if you're going to spend 40 or 50 bucks for the customer on the front end, you're just buying somebody's name and a phone number. What you do after you reach out to them, that's what differentiates you from the guy next door. So if you want to be a higher value customer in the eye or a higher value business in the eyes of the customer, like if you're reaching out, you have a system in place, you're sending like a letterhead quote with your logo on it, and it's like a follow-up system going through text and emails, you're instantly going to win over the guy with a pen and paper. And I know guys like to do the old school way where they're like, I'm writing everything down on a receipt and I'm handing it over to them, and I'm doing in-person quoting that's going to be like an hour, 2 hours of my day. When you're scaling and you're growing a business, um, I find it's you want to use like the technology of the times. We don't want people to be so used to Amazon and transacting online and doing stuff on their phone, and then we're going to kind of hinder and slow down their day by going up to them and taking an hour of their time writing something on a piece of paper that they're just going to put on their desk and they're going to never see it anymore. So it's like update with the times. If we're going from 4 gallon a minute machines to 8 gallon a minute machines plus, why aren't we doing the same with our systems and our CRMs? And that's one thing that you and I both do similarly, where like once you capture that 40 or $50 lead, the like customer's name, and they say, hey, I have this request, how fast we can get to them and how professionally we can get to them, and like the system that follows up with them and then like puts them on the schedule and then lets them know the job's completed, invoices them, and asks for that review. That's what really separates us from those guys that aren't doing what we're doing and staying up on that, like how we're running the business. So I think
A hun-
that's a big thing.
a
Like
hundred, yeah,
it's
a
like
hundred
some
percent. I mean, consistency wins every time, right? So another big thing is, if this system is not notifying the customer, if it's not reminding them of their appointment, if it's not, hey, just checking the status on your payment, the system does all of those things. That is saving you yeah, I mean, that's saving you, I don't know how much time of your own time, because like when I was first getting started in this business, all those texts were being sent, like I was having to send them manually. Now my CRM, it does all that for me, and I mean, believe it or not, it just saves you a lot of time, especially when you're taking, like me right now, I'm wearing a couple hats at a time, juggling some hats and different jobs. But if I'm taking 20 phone calls a day and washing 5 houses, I got to be able to have it simple if I want to be able to capitalize.
yeah, and when you're doing it yourself, you're using the tool of the CRM or the process that you're really consistent with, so you're not wasting time saying, "Oh, like I got these 20 calls that I'm doing and then like what happened to this guy? What happened to that guy?" And then you're kind of setting your business up for failure by not being the most communicative, not like responding to them in a timely manner. And this is kind of something where I've really focused on implementing, because I feel like in the beginning it's easy to say, oh, I can get tons of leads, but then stuff slips through your fingers and you run into the problems like I had the other day where somebody was like, hey, you're going to be here at 9 a.m. And you're almost scrambling trying to move trucks around to make sure that that person can get serviced. And like you say, hey, I'm going to be here today. You want it done today. So by running everything through the CRM, that's going to be like the game changer that we have this year. And to like the point that we talk about, you pay for leads, and just because it doesn't close, like you still bought that lead. So don't let that 40 or $50 go to waste when you can keep them in the system. You can send them emails. You can be like top of mind for them because you never know if they have a friend who needs a pressure washing service and you're their go-to guy because they're knowing you from how often you're keeping up with them, or they reach out and they say, "Hey, we moved. We have a need now." And in this type of business, like somebody could need their house pressure washed, they could sell their house before they needed it pressure washed, and or they can buy a new house and then they're like, "Whoa, now I need the pressure washing." So like we always
And
want
that
to be
other
top of
guy may
mind.
already be out of business.
I think that's a huge thing. It's like leads that I had and nurtured that somebody may have gone to that other guy, like you're saying, back in the day. Now they have me as a secondary, and now I become the primary because they can't get in touch with their other guy.
Correct. And then another thing with the CRM and having the softwares and the systems put in place, what if a billionaire that just absolutely wants to get into your industry and wants to take over your market, you're not providing any value with a notebook, a pen and paper. If somebody wants to buy your business and all you say, okay, I want to sell my business for $400,000. Here's my notebook and pen and paper. He's going to laugh at you. What can you do to create value in your business in case somebody like that were to walk up?
Exactly. It's almost the same thing. Like we look at Amazon and they have their Amazon Prime service, and they're probably like borderline losing money at the whatever it is, like $20 or whatever the service costs. But they have you in their system as a customer. So like their customer value of you as like, oh, I'm a Prime member is far greater than if you're not, because you're already in the system, and that's like being in somebody's CRM. Like us having an Amazon Prime account, like we're in their CRM essentially. So we're not even spending money like actively, but we know, hey, in the back of my mind, I got this, and that's how we want to be with our customers. And to your point as well, like if you're looking at like your valuation of your company or what's your company worth, anybody legitimate is going to say like, what systems do you have in place? It doesn't matter what revenue you're doing if there's no systems in place, because somebody's going to come in and say, how can I make this as efficient as possible to run itself or put people in place to run it? And if the only information that guy has is, oh, well, this is what I do because this is my friend and this is Bubba, that's not getting anybody anywhere. So, like, it's our job to level up year after year, kind of fine tune those systems. And with all the information and the data we have in our CRM, we're going through with a comb and saying, hey, these clients, we're going to focus more on these clients because we're losing money here, or it's not as geographically close to do all these jobs in one area anymore. So we're trying to like plan our routes certain days just as our trucks are out in the field is more efficient for us. So like all that stuff, if you're just going on a pen and paper, you're not able to see it. Like it's so much money is being wasted if you're on a pen and paper system or you're not like actively putting everything systematically into a CRM.
Yeah, I mean, I know I keep going back to it, but it's all about time. It all boils down to how much time you can save during the day to do more things. So, I mean, I was just thinking when you were saying about the pen and paper, okay, so you have your customer's information all written down, fine and dandy. Well, with our CRM, we already have all the information in the CRM. You're going to use your phone more than likely to get the directions to wherever you're going. So you're already having to input all of that stuff back in there again in your phone anyway. So why not just, find a CRM, use CRM, and then put it all in there. And so what I do is I click I'm on my way and click the address and it takes me straight there. You're probably wasting another 5 or 10 minutes to punch all that in your phone to begin with just to get the directions. I'm all about saving time when I'm doing 5 or 6 houses a day. I mean, all that stuff adds up quick.
Exactly. And say like you're going to lean more towards your business model where you're like, how can I make as much profitability and how can I maximize my time to make the most amount of money? And like we say, oh, I can wash a house in 30 minutes and then make $300 or $400. But how much time are we wasting, like you said, in our operations and in our administrative stuff? Like that is a job that you can have the CRM do a
That's
lot of work for you, or you could have a virtual assistant do it and they're making under $10 an hour. So it's like, hey, if you want to be like, I'm maximizing my time on the truck, there's ways that we can save time as opposed to fumbling around through a notebook trying to figure out what customers to call. Like that's a lot of time when we can make 150 to $300 an hour. So like we have to think smart
100%.
as a business owner and say, hey, if this one piece of technology is costing me $200 a month and it allows me to save like 5 to 10 minutes on every customer transaction, how much time am I going to gain at my whatever my pressure washing rate is, 150, $200 an hour? And if it's worth it, then that's a wise investment as a business owner.
And it's very hard to make any money. Going back to what you're saying, 150. If you're not making 150 to 200 bucks an hour, you need to find a different pricing strategy, and definitely figure out what's going on there. I know a lot of people starting out do the square footage thing. Obviously, I mean, we kind of use that as a guideline, but we don't necessarily price with the square footage type stuff. So definitely get figure out, sit down, figure out what does my company need to make an hour, what does my company need to make a day, what does my company need to make a month, and structure your business fully around that.
Exactly. And it's money in, money out. And it's what is my time worth when you factor all the tasks that you have to do? If you're wearing all the hats, what is your true time worth? And I mean, a lot of times it's like, well, I watch this. We're only factoring like our time when it comes to like when we're on the job, when the hoses are already pulled, when we're spraying and rinsing the house. Like calculate from the start of the customer transaction to the end, and then say, this took me this much money. This took me this amount of time to get this much money. How much did I make an hour? And then you can start factoring. You're just getting cleaner numbers. You're not saying, oh, I make $300 an hour, and then at the end of the year you're like, I don't have any money. Where'd all my money go? That happens a lot. We're so busy chasing the revenue and saying, oh man, I made $1,000 today, I made $1,500 today. But then at the end of the day you're like, wait, I have no time, I'm stressed out, and where's all my money? And tools like a CRM, it makes it so easy to keep everything tracked. You can shoot it over to like QuickBooks or your accounting software. So at the end of the day, this is another kind of system to implement. Go over your profit and loss for the week. That way you're aware of your spending and you're aware of like how much you're really making. And like once you get past like a year or two where you're like, okay, I've survived this business, I'm able to do this full time. Now look into like working on growing it and growing your role when you're working like on the business, not just in the business. You could still be like in the business washing and working, but start to figure out how to like track the business numbers of things and be less of a technician and more of a business minded guy. I think your mic just turned off.
We good now?
Yeah, you're good now. I can
Okay.
I can clip that out, don't worry.
You're good. So come out again. All right, we good now? Okay. Like I say, consistency wins every time, right? So if you're not structured properly and you do a million different services, then how do you know exactly what you're going to make and what are your goals? And I think that's what makes us so successful. We stick to Washington and we try to critique ourselves and we try to be perfect in everything we do. And then if something doesn't work, we figure out how we can make it better.
I think that's
I
very
think
true.
that's very true.
And it's one of those things where we're like what I've learned when I've taken on like paver sanding or ceiling work, certain things you do and you look at like the revenue of the job, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna make like $5,000 on this project. And then it ends up taking you more time and there's expenses involved with it. And you're like, if I was just pressure washing these houses like for $300 to $500 and I'm in and out in an hour and there's no callbacks, I'm almost making the same profit for the time. Or sometimes you're even making better money. Like, because I know we'll talk here and there about like adding services or trying to do stuff. And it's like, are we chasing the vanity of like a number, or are we looking at like the profitability of the situation and saying like, whoa, I'm making $100 an hour doing this. It's not as sexy as like the shiny object over here that everybody's saying to do to make 5 grand, and then it takes 2 weeks of time. And you're at the same time, you're like, I would have been better off if I just stayed in my lane and maxed out what I was doing. And that's
Yeah, that's what trips me out about these guys saying they're doing $2 and $3 million a year, but what are you making? So it's like the tickets on different things are you cannot compare apples to apples there as far as revenues go. You can do all the revenue you want, but what are you actually making?
it's true. Yeah. And then
So
you
like
want to
with the
say, do you want to be simple and have profitability with not a lot of moving parts? And like commercial, we talk about commercial stuff. Like usually there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through with insurances. You got to upgrade your insurance. You have workman's comp. You got to have higher umbrella for liability. And like there's more costs associated with things. Factoring in with like it's competitive to get the job. And then usually it's on like a time constraint of like weekends or nights. And oftentimes you're not going to get paid for 30 days. So
Please.
a lot of times people look at like, though, the look at that guy, he's over here, he sent me 10 grand on this project and it took him 2 days. But I'm like, what went into the total factor of this thing? And then to have like, if you have employees, they're not going to want to work in the middle of the night. So usually you're out there doing the work with them or doing it for them.
Or you got to pay them double to get them up and get them out there, get them away from their family,
Yeah.
which, I mean, it's fine and dandy, but it's still hard.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I mean, the biggest thing that I can see is a lot of guys I know that do they get sold on the Christmas lights. Well, now everybody's doing Christmas lights. And the biggest thing I see that they're getting sold on is, oh, well, I did $600,000 in during Christmas on Christmas lights. Well, you only, it's a bigger headache than people realize versus just going out and picking up a wand and grabbing a hose and reeling the hose up. So don't always get fed up in the numbers and the big numbers that are they sound good at the time, but you got to really sit back and think about, okay, what can I really make? And I'm all about less headache.
That's true. And it's easy to jump into things and be like, oh, like I feel like this is what happens with me. Like you get used to like this. You said the consistency is everything, but after a certain amount of time, that's boring, and like it's not as exciting as like from zero to $100,000 a year or zero to $200,000 a year. You get to the point where you're like maintaining, and then you're like, my growth is it's still growing, but it's not as exciting. I feel like I need to change something up. I feel like I need to like go back to that dopamine hit of like when I first put myself out there as an entrepreneur, and then it's like you're showing up. It's like a job at this point. So like don't start chasing these shiny objects and then wonder why like you've lost focus on your main thing of your business. And I think too, like you and I, we were both really heavy in our area of like strictly doing pressure washing. We're not over here like diluting our brands with multiple services or saying like, oh, hey customer, I can't get to you during like 2 months out of the year because I'm putting up Christmas lights. Like you're going to lose customers doing stuff like that as opposed to saying like, hey, this is our main focus. Like we're looking at the systems and the numbers and like we're so consistent and like how can we improve on the small level, and like we're not trying to just say, oh, that guy over there is doing this, let me do this too. It'd be so nice to add another $20,000 by putting these up or by doing this or by doing that, and then before you know it, your business is in chaos.
Yeah, I always kind of just giggle under my breath when a lot of guys are doing $500,000. They're saying they're doing $500,000 with their pressure washing business, but 300,000 of it was Christmas lights.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, but what did you do washing? You're a pressure washing company. So anyway, it's very easy to get sidetracked.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess we can loop back into we kind of had some questions that we wanted to talk about to create like a I guess like a idea flow for these podcasts. Since this one is like the spring, like still we're still in the spring. It's Valentine's Day today, so we're gonna be dropping this one end of the week. So you guys have like 2 weeks before March, and usually March that's when everything starts rolling in. And as far as I guess, is there like a preseason checklist, or is there stuff that you've been doing that you've really worked on? Like, what are a couple tips that like you've already noticed? Because I know with your business, you're talking about your numbers last year, and then this year you're almost going to like double what you did last year. So, are there certain things
Yeah.
you're doing differently this year than you did last year to let yourself be successful? Because I know like so many people have flooded the space, and then in our area, people are complaining about being slow. So obviously, there's something that you're doing this year or you've done last year that's helped you this year to like really get ahead of the season and really put up some big numbers.
So I always look forward to December and January. It's my favorite time of the year because I finally get to sit down and chill, relax with the family, still work a little bit, but just kind of sit back and think about all the things that went on through the year and think about what I could change, what I could tweak, what I could do a little differently. And like I said in the last episode, our little kickoff rebrand episode we did, you always got to be getting ready for the spring. In the spring, you need to be getting ready for the winter, and in the winter, you need to be getting ready for the spring. So I do a lot of self evaluation, business evaluation. Okay, what can I do differently? Do I need to buy a different, I need to buy another truck and a rig? Do I need to hire a couple more people? What do I need to do? So I think a lot of it, I keep going back to consistency, staying consistent with everything, not tweaking too much stuff. If it's working, let it work. If it's not working, go ahead and try to tweak it a little bit. But I mean, the difference in growth just between a year, we did right at just a little under $15,000 last February. Well, I hear a lot of guys, they're just like, well, I don't start work until March 1st. Like, I don't know if that's an ego thing, if they're scared to get out in the cold and work a little bit. I don't really know what that is. But I mean, this year, just after a year's time, we're tracking close to 30 grand. So we've almost doubled our revenue in the month of February between 2024 and 2025.
Yeah,
And that's just staying consistent, kind of farming our customers like the CRM, like what I'm talking about. We have not changed anything with marketing. I mean, it just eventually it just comes if you just stay consistent. I know I keep going back and keep saying that word, but consistency is key in business.
I think to your point too, like we were talking about when guys are diversifying themselves into lights or they're doing other services in the winter and they think, oh, I'm just going to start right back up in March. I'm going to start right back up in April. And then they're sitting looking around like, wow, like all these new guys are taking my business because they took their foot off the gas for 2 or 3 months and they lost all that momentum. And when you lose momentum, somebody like you or me is going to pick that up.
You
And
have to definitely stay on your toes, or somebody's going to be there to snatch up your customer that's looking. I mean, there's always people looking for pressure washing. There's people pressure washing their homes. There's corporate coming into town for these commercial jobs. They need to get it done. And just feel like a lot of people is missing out on their opportunities. Like I say, I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's lazy. I don't know if it's they're wanting to take time off or what. But time off is in January, first 3 weeks of January. I've learned that in the last 5 years. So if you want to take time off, take all your time off the first couple weeks of January.
exactly. And don't stop your spending on advertising. Don't stop marketing. Don't stop trying to get in front of people. Because once you do, like it's really hard to get that momentum back up when people like you, me, other guys who are like consistently serious primarily about pressure washing, they're going to come in and take all that business. It's really hard to pick up momentum in the busiest season you have. And yeah, you can get by because like leads naturally flow in. Even part-time guys who don't even do this full-time or not even businesses or like not even insured, they're able to get work. So like don't say, oh, I'm able to get work. I stay busy this time of year. But then you look at how expensive life has gotten, how many companies have come into the area. Like you're about to lose a lot if you're not serious and keep your foot on on the gas and keep plowing forward, whether it be advertising on Google, Facebook, etc., just posting, engaging with your community. Like the second I feel like people are like, oh, he's great, but now he's doing this and now he's doing that, you're losing those customers whether you know it or not. And you know because people like you are picking up, you're doubling, you're able to double the revenue, and that's not like oh work's just flowing in for everybody. You're taking customers from other people, and that's where people miss out because they're like, oh, I've allowed people to come in and take these customers. I noticed recently it seems like when all these guys are shifting into Christmas lights, they're opening up the market for us with pressure washing and like our last we closed out the year with a decent amount of momentum and it seemed like well normal people are doing lights or normal people are doing this or they're not working in the winter and we're like taking those customers over and we're using that to carry a lot more momentum into the spring and summer.
Yeah, I mean it's probably harder up north, but in the south where we're from, it's definitely easy to work. You can work all year round doing this. I mean, there's no excuse of why you shouldn't be. I mean, because
Exactly.
I've done it, you've done it. As long as it's above 32, we're spraying.
That's true. Yeah, I got some night work. I'm trying to schedule. We got like we'll do a lot of work for like Starbucks, and they're, of course, we got it. I reached out to my source, and she's like, yeah, whenever you can do it. I'm like, I'm looking at the schedule for this coming weekend, like the lows. They're like wintry mix, and everything's like looking to be night or well, it being a Starbucks, you got to do it after hours, and I think they close like 8:30 at night. So like between 8:30 and 5 a.m. you got to fit in the time to do this and the lows are like 33, 34, 35. So you just kind of have to put on your big boy pants and go out and get it.
100%.
Yeah. So as far as equipment, are you doing anything different this year going forward? Are you looking to like add a skid, or you got new? I think you got new equipment. What, last year?
Uh,
I
it's
can't
been
remember. A
it's
couple
been 2
years.
years now, man. That's
Nice.
good.
That's
So shout out T3 Skids. Casey, you ought to send me a check for this. Send me some commission for shouting you out. But C3 Skids have been good to us. That's where we get all our equipment from. Um, I mean, the quality is unmatched in my opinion. That's where we get all our skids. We're probably going to buy another skid this year along with another truck. So we have a trailer and a skid. So we're probably going to add this year to the family and do another skid. Skid just so convenient. It's very easy. Electric reels, all that mess. I'm not so tired. My arms aren't sore. Almost felt like I was cheating the first day I ever used it.
Oh yeah, I know you got the fancy skid. I kind of piecemealed mine together, but my employees are the electric reels. So and
It
then
all works, man. It all works. Well, when that electric reel goes out, it's no fun.
that's true. Yeah, but yeah, we're about our 30-minute mark. So is there anything you wanna talk about? I figured we probably keep these kind of short. Like, hey, it takes 30 minutes to get to a job. Like, pound out one of the Wash Bros episodes before your day starts, and then you get the motivation you need to carry yourself forward and grow your business this year. So any kind of takeaways, words of advice you'd like to give?
The only thing I got is just if you have any questions for us, anything for us to comment, anything for us to go over, any questions you may have, I'd love to go over in our show here. Just comment your biggest challenges that you may have had from last year. And I'd love to kind of go over it and see if we can't help you with whatever you may have faced last year and maybe make it better for you this year. Maybe give you some advice, maybe help you. Just comment below here on our live or send us a message and we'll kind of shout you out or whatnot and just see what we can do to help you. Hopefully, we get quite a bunch of them, so we can kind of we might even make an episode of just going over all people's what they're facing and kind of go over it.
Yeah. And I think we're trying to figure out like a schedule to drop these. So what we'll probably do is we'll stream these live, and you're watching now, it's going to be Sunday, and we're shooting every Sunday to like drop these Sunday evening, and then once it drops on social, we got it on YouTube. We also got it on all of the like Apple podcast. We got it on Spotify, all the normal places that you guys subscribe to your podcast. Make sure to check it out. And um like we've refreshed this because I know we took a little bit of like a sabbatical as we both were growing our businesses, but I mean we have crossed that 2,500 download mark. So I'd say this is kind of a good thing, and that's why we're looking to really bring this back and get serious about it, because obviously there's a demand where people are looking to get into pressure washing, looking to grow their business, and they enjoy like kind of how we do things. And every year you're going to be able to see us grow and what we've learned, and every week we're going to try to break down questions you guys may ask and drop in the Facebook comments. And we like to cut down the reels and be really good on social media. So this is going to be more like an interactive thing that we want to do, not only like with Clay and I, but with you guys as the audience. So like it's super important that you guys drop comments below, and we're going to work on kind of like a group. We're just trying to war game it out. So if you guys have any recommendations or like what the group should be called, you can drop that below in the comment too. Really working on like consolidating information. Groups are everywhere on social media. So like a Facebook group, that way we can share like what we're doing. Say we're in the field, you're like, hey, here you go. This is like what we're going through. This is what we've learned. Like this is a cool takeaway. So something like that to really build the community of the Wash Bros. So, but should be a good thing, and we're excited about the next episode. So, but I hope you guys kick ass this week and enjoy it. And anything else you want to say, Clay?
No, just make sure you like and share. Tell all your buddies about us. Make sure they listen.
Sweet. All right, we will see you on the next one.